I'm working with one guy. He's out a year and a half now, 61 years old, 30 years in prison. 2 of his sons are in prison as well. Great redemptive story with the rest of his family, though. Came to know Jesus radically in prison. Met one of his sons in prison for the first time in 20 years. Saw a guy reading a Bible in the chow hall, went over to talk to him and realized it was his son he hadn't seen in 20 years.
Oh my God.
Holy smokes.
Aloha, everyone. Welcome to All Things Possible. We are in for a unique conversation today. I wanted to take you back a little bit in my history of when I was just a teenager and we wrote my book, Soul Surfer, and that book went viral all over the world. And this was in the days when people would write letters. I would receive letters from all over the world from
Still
people
do.
who are like,
Still do.
I
Yeah.
still do receive a lot of letters. But people from all over the world, all different walks of life, all different challenges of like, hey, if you can get back on your board, I can too. But there was one type of letter that would kind of freak me out. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of scary. It would be letters from inmates, like guys somehow getting a hold of my book in prison, and they were just like in awe, and they would write sweet letters. They usually weren't really creepy, but it still was like, felt a little nerve-wracking as a teenage girl, you know, like, whoa, this guy has done some, you know, intense crime. And so, yeah, I just was like reminiscing on that per today's conversation, because we're interviewing a couple who does a ministry in between when a man or woman gets released from prison and then they have to make it to the halfway house in a certain amount of time. It's this short window. A lot of them are not making it in this short window, and then they're just sent
really
right back to
overwhelming.
prison. This has been a really eye-opening conversation of the challenges of trying to get back into society after making some major mistakes. And
It was good for us too, because like just like when you were little and experiencing the someone communicating from prison, we had these stereotypes
Right.
in our head, and like just to understand that life more and just understanding the identity, they come out feeling very broken and afraid, as you'll hear from Josh
and
and Debs.
overwhelmed, like, you know,
Overwhelmed,
going
man.
from wearing your prison clothes to, you know, just getting thrown out on the streets in the middle of a huge city. Like, yeah, so this conversation, we hope you guys enjoy it. We encourage you to, consider donating to 7 More if you feel really compelled after our conversation. It seems like they can't use enough help. The workload they have is pretty intense, but it's so honorable and so beautiful. So
If you want to hear more conversations like this, please let us know in the reviews, drop in a like, and just help us get this message out there. And we want to keep, you know, supporting ministries like 7 More that are making an incredible impact in the world and these people's lives. So dive in with us on All Things Possible. Thanks for joining today. Enjoy this conversation. All right, everybody, welcome to All Things Possible. We are joined today with Debs and Josh Walker. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
We haven't really officially met. We actually saw you from afar, Josh.
well, Josh
You're
did say hi to me, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe as we leave, he
Snag
wanted
a
a
photo.
picture,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then as we were leaving, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that guy.
Oh my gosh! So we were in Houston, to give some context here. We were in
And you
Houston.
were ripping on the skate park,
We're at the skate park
and
with
our
the
children
Yep.
were skating.
Yeah.
And we saw
yeah,
this
yeah.
like older fella like charging. We're like, man, in my head I was like, dang, this is cool. Like he's pushing the
Not
limits
that
still.
old though.
Yeah,
He's
exactly. Not
medium
that
old.
old, okay?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
that
yeah. I said older.
With some youth and spring in the step.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I thought it was super rad. It's just, first of all, seeing you pushing the limits in the park. But then you came up to our children and you handed out a bunch of stickers. And like, you know, our children love stickers, you know, put on the helmets, skateboards, and it said 7 More on it. And I was like, what is this? Is this kind of like some kind of weird band, or is it some kind of, some kind of rock group? Or anyways, about like just a couple days later, I ended up typing it in on the interwebs, and looked up 7 More and saw this amazing ministry. I was like, no way. This guy we randomly bumped into, there was only like 3 other people at this inner city skate park that we were at. And the chances are like meeting another Christian in the inner city seemed pretty low. And then also, yeah, just the ministry, that when I started looking through the website, I was just like mind blown at the impactful work y'all do. And I was like, we got to talk to these folks. And
Well, we just launched our podcast at that time, so we're like trying to figure out what do we want to talk about, which
Yeah.
I want to talk about a lot of things under the
Yeah.
sun, but I also would love to like point out rad ministries and work that people are doing that we're never likely going to do, like God has given you guys such a rad role and a heart for something that's pretty dang unique and
so needed.
yeah, so needed.
Can you tell us a little bit about, your story? Obviously, you're here together, Debs and Josh. I'm sure, there's something about how you are doing this together, just as we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're,
I think we should talk more about the skateboarding, though. That's
Okay, yeah.
he just wants to talk about
You
skateboarding.
need to stay there for a while. No.
Yeah. We're from Dublin in Ireland, and we've been in Houston for now 19 years, which sounds crazy. But when we came here, we weren't actually expecting to stay. We just came here. We thought maybe for a year or two. And we had a crazy encounter when we came here. We were helping our friends who worked with a homeless ministry. We ended up in a situation where we found a baby, and then we ended up, like, that's cut a very long story short, adopting that baby. That
Whoa.
yes, that would be a whole other podcast. But that whole situation of working, learning the kind of cycles of poverty in Houston, coming from Europe, just a very, very different situation. So we're learning these cycles of poverty. We're understanding that people are living in very difficult situations, and then actually working with the homeless community in Houston. They started telling us about how they would cycle in and out of prison. And they told us where they were released in Houston. And we were working in that area with homeless people. And so I suppose we went down there one day, and we were like, I wonder, will we see the people who get out of prison? And we were mind blown. We were like, oh yes, we will see them. So they were coming in on a Greyhound bus, 45, 50 of them in their prison clothes with prison shoes on and carrying a red net bag. And that red net bag just had everything they owned in it, basically. And I suppose from like movies and stuff, I thought when you get released from prison that you actually get your stuff back, like you
Right.
come, Ocean's
Like a
11 and they
shirt,
come
like you
back
just-
out. Yeah, they come back out in their like tux that they went in. No. You're coming out in your prison clothes and your prison shoes, and you are dropped into the center of Houston, where there's drug dealers, there's traffickers coming after the ladies, there's people trying to. Everyone gets $50, so they're trying to take your $50 that you got, and we were mind blown, honestly. Like we were just like, oh my goodness, like what? This is so dangerous. And the homeless people that we knew had told us, okay, yeah, well, we get offered drugs and we get offered this. And I suppose in the process, we started sensing from God that instead of those people meeting them, that God wanted the kingdom of God to meet them first, that they would be met with hope, that they would be met with life, and, somebody to tell them, like, this is who you really are, who you truly are.
Man, I can't imagine. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like the movies, like you see like the girlfriend or the parent or the spouse, they're waiting for them at the prison doors to pick them up, but it's not that at all. I mean, Houston's huge, and just to be dropped off in the middle of the city,
Yeah, terrible.
and you're wearing your prison clothes, prison shoes. I saw in the video, like it still says, what does it say on the sole of the
Offender. Says
offender?
offender. You're literally walking in an identity that says offender on your shoe.
Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Man. So then what happens next? You see all this
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's we've gone through several evolutions with Seven More, so it's changed a little bit during COVID. It changed, so that would have been the origin story, really, of how we started working at the bus stations. I mean, we could tell you story after story. I think what people also don't realize is how vulnerable
Yeah.
they are coming out of prison. Again, I think even a bigger misunderstanding than thinking they're all picked up by a beautiful family after they've done their time. A bigger misunderstanding is that they're these hardened, angry felons
Yeah.
that are a danger to society. And actually, when they get out, they are covered in fear.
Yeah.
And that was really one of the things that at the beginning we didn't understand about the whole process. When you go from jail to prison, you go in a prison. You're chained. You go in a prison vehicle. When you get out, you're put on into the public. They said you can hear a pin drop in the bus.
'Cause they're so
They're
nervous.
so frightened about being back in society, especially when they've been in for a little bit longer. If the guy's been in for a year, it's a little bit of a different story. But when they've been in for several years or 10 years, I mean, we meet men every day, 20, 30 years they've been in. They get out and they'll start crying
Yeah.
in front of you on the streets. They're often victimized. They're the ones that are exploited, and you just wouldn't think that with these men coming out covered head to foot in tattoos. So that was really one of the things that really pulled our hearts into it as well, that we can bring, like Dev said, we can bring the kingdom to them. They can be met by the kingdom, not met by the streets or met by no one. And it still breaks my heart, this thought of walking out of prison and there's no one there to meet you. So
yeah, that's
Where do you
devastating.
go? Where do
Yeah.
if you guys weren't there, like where are they going?
yeah,
Yeah, so that's huge. Like they were going often back to the streets because they're
Yeah.
offered, drugs and that way. And like some of the women would be offered a job and, were trafficked. They're going to halfway houses. Sometimes they're not making it there on time, which is a huge issue. And then, there's they can be arrested again for being late or, not making it. They're trying to go back to homes that, we let them use the phone, and it's really sad because, you hear them on the phone and they think they're going back to this family when actually maybe their wife or girlfriend or something has found a new person. And so, they actually don't have anywhere to go back to.
yeah. The way the system works in Texas, probably 90 to 95% of the men that we meet coming out of prison are on parole, and
Yeah.
so they have an address. They're not released out of the gate without having an address they have to show up at within a few hours. And so it's often, the big issue is often not where they're going to go. It's usually they're going to a real bad place.
Yeah.
And we want to work with them to get their parole address changed or get them into a better environment. Oftentimes, and also oftentimes, even if you are picked up by your family, oftentimes that doesn't mean you're going to a good place either. That's just the real reality as well. And so even working with the men to find them somewhere, like get into a new community. Don't return to the community that led you into prison in the first place. So that's one of our biggest challenges, is finding good, healthy, faith-based houses for these men and women.
I would love for you guys to share like maybe a individual story of someone, like a story of hope and redemption, like one that stands out to you that you think our audience might enjoy hearing. You can change the names if you need or whatever, but yeah, or no need to use names.
So you want a hopeful one, or because I've got lots of tragic work?
I mean, maybe we
Let's
could
go
hear
home.
both. Let's hear some stories of like real life
Yeah.
instances
Yeah.
of a man
Yeah.
coming out of prison or a woman, either way.
Yeah. I'll start with a picture I see every day, not a specific story, but every day we now work at the prison, so we can work with the families and with the men coming out before they get to the bus station. So we're now working with families, the men going to the families, plus the men about to go to the bus station. So.
And that's at the request actually of the prison system in Texas. So TDCJ have asked 7 more to be more involved. They want us at the prison. They want us in Dallas. They want us in San Antonio, in Austin. We're kind of overwhelmed at the moment with the needs.
Yeah. it needs
But
to-
anyway, go with the story.
But what I see every day, again, just breaks my heart is when I'm working with the families, waiting for the men to come out, to come across a van, an old car just full of young kids that are there to pick up their dad. That just breaks my heart. Because you're 80% more likely to be in prison if your dad or mom was. And so to see these young people coming, not even with a mom or another parent, they're there picking up their dad. And as you talk to them, it's not the first time they've done that either. That's a reality we see every day. And again, when Debs talked about these cycles of poverty, you see that people are kind of born into a cycle that is beyond what they can break out of.
This is just a normal
this
life.
is-
This is what we do.
Yes.
This is normal. But a great story. I actually yesterday, a guy, Rico, came with me to the prison to help me work with the men as they were released. Rico he went in his last charge. He went in for, I think he did 5 years his last time in. He was caught with 10 kilos of drugs and $6 million of cash. Right, that was his last time in. This is his last time in prison. Again, he has a story of just being born into these cycles. But the redemptive thing is, July 3rd, 2019, we met him coming out of prison. He had no one when he came out, and we met him with some food and hygiene and bags and stuff, helped him get to a good halfway house. And so almost 6 years later, he's coming back with us, encouraging and challenging the men who are going to be released to walk in a new identity, to walk with us, and to walk with men who were good men on good paths. So that's a real cool story,
Yeah.
I think.
And we have lots of stories that we started a mentorship program. So
Cool.
yeah, which has been super successful, and it's something that we really want to grow. So when they get out, and they all get a wristband. So we this wristband. So we give them new clothing. We change the prison clothes. The prison system now requests bags from us. So we've stopped the red net bags. So in the prison, they're given our 7 more bags when they're coming out now, which is great. We have guys who have been along the path. They're working there's some companies in Houston that employ ex-offenders, one specific company, and they employ 100 guys. And so Josh works with them to become mentors for the new guys getting out. So we have guys and they fill out a form online, and then we connect them with a mentor, and they're starting to walk on their path. So do you want to tell one of their stories?
Well, that's the big focus for us is we want everybody coming out of prison to have the opportunity to have a mentor or a coach walking with them, someone who's been where they are, but is now where they want to be down the road. Some of them have only been out 6 months, but they've had to navigate all the difficulties. Very challenging getting back into society. Everything from clothing to a phone. Imagine trying to navigate life without having a phone, and it's just all the different things. And parole, they're on GPS monitors, they're trying to get work, and so to have a guy who's been through all of that, knows how to stay focused and clear-headed, stay on the path, moving forward and not moving back. So that's the real goal of 7 More. We want to be right there when they're released. And welcome them with the kingdom, help them with their immediate needs, but then we want them in a peer mentorship relationships so they
I
can
love the
keep
idea of
going.
like someone coming out of prison and then mentoring not
Mentoring, not
shortly
shortly
after,
after.
because it's almost like accountability for them, and they're giving to someone. It gives them more purpose in life to be offering service to someone else and not just be focused so much on themselves and their problems and their challenges, but it becomes this like team mission. I think that's like super rad.
It's so good. It's so good. It does. And yeah, it does give some purpose. There's a guy, Martin, who he got out many times, but one of the times that we met him,
He was there 7 times.
7 times, 7 more.
7 more times. He was actually in and out 7 times.
But he's again one of those guys that we've walked with for a good number of years, and I will say, you guys know, and anyone who knows, for all of us, sometimes it's 3 steps forward, 4 back, 1 forward, 3 back. There's people are dealing with a lot of childhood hurt. They're dealing with a lot of things, and so Martin's been on a journey, but he's volunteering with us as well, and it's just incredible, like you said, Bethany, like to have people who've been through it, and it gives Martin this sense of like, I have a purpose. Like there's a purpose for me. Even like what I went through, I can speak about it and talk to other guys. Yeah, we can use what we went through to help other people.
I've spent my whole life in the ocean, and I've learned, just like wearing a seatbelt or a helmet, safety matters. That's why my family and I use shark bands.
Shark Bands uses patented magnetic technology to deter sharks by disrupting their electroreception. Kind of like a bright light in their eyes that says, nope, not today, shark face. No batteries, no charging, just simple, effective peace of mind.
Whether we're surfing, swimming, or just splashing around, Shark Bands is our go-to for ocean safety.
You want to geek out on how it works? Dive into episode 14 for a deeper look at the tech.
And check the show notes for the link to Shark Bands, because your peace of mind in the ocean is worth it. Stay safe, stay stoked, and keep loving the ocean.
I mean, y'all keep on bringing up the identity piece about, who are we identified as? And, as you're talking, I'm like putting myself in their shoes and thinking about like what that would feel like to come off that bus and be wearing those clothes, wearing those shoes, and I can just imagine like just them feeling like just a mess up, like I screwed up. This is who I am. I'm just going to keep on living in this cycle because this is just all I know. And that's like, who are we as people to judge that? Because like, how often do we mess up in our own hearts and our own lives, but we can't live in that cycle because we, thankfully have the hope of Christ for us to overcome that and to have an identity in Him. Have you seen like people really grasp onto that? Like that seems to be ultimately your mission is to be like, hey, you don't have to wear, this isn't you. Like, you don't have to wear those shoes. This is, Christ loves you. This is a new life for you is in Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's really good.
Oh yeah, many people.
There was a guy I'll never forget him. He we met him it was right at the front door of the Greyhound bus station. Massive dude, covered in tattoos, huge. Not somebody you'd want to walk up to outside of a Greyhound bus station, except he was one of the releases. And I got to pray with him right in front of the Greyhound, surrounded by all the chaos and the homelessness. And as I was praying for him, I had this real clear sense that he had the Father's heart for the people around him. Right, just really clear as I was praying for him. And so I just started to say to him, hey, you have the character of a father. Even though you've been separated from your family, you're a father to the people around you. And at this he started bawling his eyes out right there at the front of the bus station. Just again, like you're saying, Adam, he had been, I think for him to realize that he was more than the offender on the bottom of his shoe, and that God did see him, and God did recognize that he had the Father's heart in him to other people. And then he goes on to start telling me, he was like, because he was he was an older guy, old for, in his, not my old, if we're going to classify.
Older.
He was older. He would have been older than a lot of the guys in prison, the younger guys. But he just started telling about how he had been a father to those young guys in prison and had been able to help. And so it is amazing to be able to call those releases coming out to more than what the society has labeled them, or maybe the cycles where they're born. They're much more than that. And I think that's really where even the name Seven More comes from, is this idea, Jesus' story, Matthew 18, how many times you forgive your brother? Not 7, but 70 times 7. And Jesus' point was, stop counting, stop labeling, and, stop counting the past against your brother. And that's what we want to speak over every man and woman we meet, is that that God has a plan for them, and that he still has a plan for them, has a good plan. And maybe you've had a little bit of a break there for 10, 20 years, but God still has a plan, and you can still be on the path he created you for.
And we partner with really good faith-based halfway houses and programs. And so we're able to, like with these mentorship programs, like encourage guys to go stay in these places, and then like we're able to get them jobs through those things. And so we're seeing guys like decide to walk in the identity that God has given them and be fathers. And I think that's a huge thing for me, is that these men and women would be fathers and mothers, and really see their children as, people that they can and have the ability to love and care for and break those cycles. The breaking of the cycles is huge. And I think something that I often say to people is, like, when we tell the story about our son or other children that we've seen, like in the homeless population, everybody has a heartbreak for the children. Like, we're very, foster kids and, children in poverty. But what about those children who grow up and they don't have tools, and they're in a hard cycle, and they grow up to be 17, 18, 19, and they're making horrendous decisions? Like, we're not in any way saying that people shouldn't go to prison, or that they shouldn't do their time for terrible crimes that they've done. But the father's heart is the same as for the little foster child, for when they're 27 or when they're 40, they're still a child that is broken, and that the father wants to give that sense of identity and hope to.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we often, like, if you think when the Bible tells us, like in Isaiah, speaks of the fatherless and the orphan and the widow, we often in our head, the first thing we think about of the fatherless or the orphan would be the, like,
Little
3 to 2, 3, 4, 5 age, young kids. But actually, these men, 60-year-olds coming out of prison,
they're still
fatherless, orphans, and to care for them and see them, like you're saying, Debs, not to see them as that man, but to see that child that was never given a chance.
I'm curious, like with the halfway houses, that seems so weird. They drop them off and then they only have a few hours to get to a halfway house somewhere. Like, what's this? Like, what is the strategy there? Is it to see if they're functional enough to like make it from A to B?
Oh, I know, it's terrible. And here's the crazy thing, Bethany, is that if you've ever been in a prison, in the Texas prisons, there are lines on the ground that you cannot, as an inmate, you cannot step out of these lines all the way across. Like, and these prisons are huge. Like, it's a mile circumference.
It's like little kids walking on a little straight line.
They're not allowed outside of a straight line, right? They have to do everything they're told to. They don't even need a watch, right? And then you give these men, if you've been in for 10, 20 years, you give these men a bus ticket, expect them to be able to navigate the Greyhound bus station with a connection in Dallas or something. I don't know how many men we've worked with that have missed their bus because they've never had to.
They don't know. They've
been told what to do for.
And like you said, like, there's halfway houses, but Houston is absolutely massive. So you have to get to this halfway house. They don't know about Uber. Obviously, they don't have phone for that. They don't know the bus system. They don't have money to get on the bus. So it's funny you ask, like, what is the thinking? we can't figure out the thinking. Is it that they want them to go back? Because many of them just end up getting redirected on the way and they go back to prison. I had a guy on our call center
They
yesterday.
just go for a bus ride and then go back. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a guy yesterday on the call center and he said to me, I'm so lost in this city that I feel like, honestly, it would just be better for me to offend and go back. Like, I don't know where to go and I don't know how to navigate. And so it's just a terrible, terrible system, really.
It really is.
Yeah,
And
like many of the systems.
Yeah.
But are the systems, but they're asking for you guys to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Because they see, they're not, are these people Christian, like the leaders of these prison, but they just see the good work, like what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And it helps them. Honestly, it does help them for us.
Yeah.
We have a very, very good relationship with reentry. The governor of Texas actually gave 7 more a reentry award. So the reentry really, they like us because we help the guys get to where they need to be. We help them get into jobs, and that obviously helps their numbers with reentry. So the recidivism rate in Texas is 75%. So that's guys going back. If they are
Subnote though, that's age related.
yes.
You can't separate recidivism without its age categories.
Yes. But if they
So that's
are,
the worst. That'd be the worst. If anyone listens to steps, we need the numbers right.
he's a mathematician. He has
Okay, give us
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
numbers right.
he has a master's in engineering, so he's always like on the numbers.
Nice.
No, recidivism is very high, but it's age related. So if you go in, if you do any time as a teenager or a young person, you're almost guaranteed to be back in prison. I mean, it's almost 100% recidivism rate. And then as the age goes up, and it is actually, we see this all the time. We have older guys coming out of prison.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm too old for this. I can't do that again.
Yeah.
Because they've been in and out so many times. So the recidivism drops as you get older. But as a young person going in, yeah.
But the average is around 75%, and then it shows with 7 more. If they continue in our mentorship program, it drops to about 10%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow.
So we're also saving the taxpayer a lot of money.
Yeah.
Some people like to
Yeah.
hear that.
How big
Don't-
is your guys' team? Like, I'm sure the prison systems are huge. There's a lot of people going in and out. Like, I'm sure there's got to be, man, the ratio of like 7 more volunteers versus the amount of inmates coming out. Like, yeah, what does that look like?
Yep.
It looks like a fire hose hitting our face.
Oh my goodness.
Drink it through a fire
Wow.
hose. It's I'll tell you this, we don't have enough people, and one of our challenges is that they do the releasing in the morning, so we starts quite early. Releasing is usually finished by 12 or 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. That's a tough time to get volunteers and good volunteers because working at the prison, we're around the warden, we're around the officers. You need to have people there that can navigate the security of that as well. So it is very difficult. We run. I think we have about 8. There's about 8 of us.
On staff.
Two in Hawaii. We need to talk about
2 in Hawaii. We have 7 more in Hawaii.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned
Oh
that.
my gosh.
on
He told me
Oahu.
how to say it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're working.
Wahi. Oh my gosh.
Wahiwa.
Yes. He told me how to say it right
heard-
before this.
We've heard some gnarly things about that
Yes,
I
prison
think
system
that's a
over
pretty
there.
heavy.
Pretty heavy spot.
it is.
Yeah.
And they're starting 7 more there and they're doing a great job. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that'd be that's a good connection.
It's a similar vibe. I mean, a lot of people think of Hawaii as like, a very it is paradise. It is
Touristy
There's
and-
beautiful and touristy, but you get to Oahu and it's gnarly. There's like
There's
inner
some
city
heavy-
vibes. There's heavy gang activity. There's
That's what they told us.
it's,
Yeah.
it's really a lot of broken families as you find probably in Houston, like very
Yeah.
similar drug abuse.
That's why they chose to move there. Yeah. It's a really cool couple. He's a surfer and they met in Hawaii. And then he's from Sweden. She's from America. And they met in Hawaii, then worked with us for a while. And then they really had a heart to go back to Oahu and serve there. So, yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
I had a question earlier. Oh, so you're partnering with some of the halfway houses and you're helping them find jobs. What sort of jobs are they able to kind of get a hold of? Because we had a recent thing on the North Shore here of Kauai. It's a very small community, and there was a man who is a sex offender, specifically towards a child, or two or three. I'm not sure how many. But then he became the manager of our local grocery market where children are kind of, free
It
go
seemed a little
running in
like,
and out. It was
yeah.
like a really uncomfortable situation for, the North Shore, like this small community, lots of mothers, very concerned. I was just like curious, like what sort of jobs are they getting? Because in my mind, like that didn't seem like a fitting job. Like I want to have a society that helps rebuild people who, have made major horrific mistakes in their life. But I'm also like there needs to be some boundaries here and some, like,
100%.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious,
That's
like,
that seems like a very,
Oh yeah.
that wouldn't,
Yeah.
I don't think that would
That's
happen.
actually
It's
very,
probably like
very,
an outlier
yeah.
situation
right.
here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that it's relevant
Yeah.
for us, I guess.
Yeah, it was
Close
just
to
like one of the
home.
things that was close to home, and my mom heart was like, my nephews live in that town. I'm
Oh,
sure they
yeah.
go to the grocery
Yeah.
store to get,
Yeah.
candy or something, and I'm just like, plus all their friends. I'm just thinking of like the
For
children in
sure.
this situation. But so
Absolutely. Yeah.
it made me
Yeah.
curious, like you mentioned, you're
Yeah.
helping these
Yeah.
guys who are coming out and helping them finding a
Yeah.
job. What sort of jobs are they
Yeah.
Yeah.
getting, and what's that
Yeah.
kind of look
That's
like?
that's a good question. One step before that, though, I'll tell you, it's quite hard for these guys when they come out of prison because they want to do right, they want to get a good job, but all of them, most of them, would have people waiting for them to get out, that dependents. That so they come out. It's not like this idea of you come out and hey, get your life back together, take your time, work at McDonald's, and get yourself established again. I mean, they come out and right away they have the pressures of
Child
child
support.
support,
Yeah.
often a very broken family situation. So they could have 4 or 5 kids with 4 or 5 women, and so they come out with a lot of complexity. So I say that when they imagine trying to rebuild your life, but you can only get a job at fast food or stocking shelves. It's very hard for them to stay that line and not get sucked back into the way they
Quick
used to.
money.
Quick money.
Yeah.
They could, on top of the fact that as well, we speak about identity. Many of them, where probably their self-worth came from, was that they could throw a bunch of money at the baby mamas and at their kids, right? And so, but there are real strict guidelines in Texas about sex offenders, where they can even stay. Very, very hard demographic to work with because it's very limiting. But we have the company where I'm a chaplain. It's an awesome company. It's called Refined Technologies. They have around 100 guys from prison, and it's a great environment, real good culture. But what's great about the work as well is you can come out day one out of prison and you can be pulling wrenches, and you don't need to have an education. You just need to work hard. So there's work like that, and then there's different things like a lot of them love the CDL. That's what it is in Texas.
Truck driver's license.
Truck driver's license. That's really good work. And there's sponsorship for guys who've been in prison where they can be. The payment for the course is covered, and so that they can get the license for free and start
Awesome.
working. So that's a really good job.
Yeah. I wanted to like address that kind of what's a stereotype, I guess, like from movies as well. Like you guys are on the ground, your boots on the ground in the streets with these guys. You're in the system, seeing what it's actually like there. Like for a majority of us, we've never seen what it's really like on the inside. Is it so? You look at like movies and stuff, and you see some like these like redemption stories of like, oh yeah, you can pursue an education inside a prison and come out the other side, reformed, so to say. But is that actually true? Is that possible? Like,
Yeah.
in like a Texas, like in
It
penitentiary?
is. It
Can you do
is.
that?
You can,
Okay.
yeah, I won't say a lot. I'd say a percentage of guys
Yeah.
use their time. They use their time well, and they will
Right.
study. They'll get an associate's.
Okay.
You can get a degree. You can get a master's. So some of the universities actually do really good programs inside. You can also learn welding. You can learn
Oh, cool.
lots of different trades. Now, those qualifications don't always translate very well outside. And again, like you mentioned, Bethany, it depends on your conviction. So in Texas, there's no way that situation would have happened in the supermarket. So it's sex offenders. They have to live in a very specific area. They can only work. It's very, very hard for us to find them anything.
I would say with the stereotype of the prison, a lot of it actually comes down to the warden of
Yeah.
the prison. There's 110 prisons, 110 prisons in Texas, 150,000 inmates.
He loves numbers. He loves the numbers.
50,000 go out or released every year, and 50,000. I mean, their spots are immediately taken.
Wow.
And so I think that's one of the things about Texas. The challenges is the numbers. The numbers are overwhelming. But here's the bigger challenge: the government in Texas make a huge amount of money from the prison system. They don't pay the men in prison for the work they do. So you can have a job. You're encouraged to work in prison, and a lot of guys do it just to make the time go faster, so that they can make parole. But there's some states that you're paid a wage for that. It might be small, but you're still making some money, which is wonderful for the guys inside. It means that they're not dependent on their families to give them money. Put money on their books so that they can buy stuff in prison. Many of the men, they either learn to manipulate their families for money, or they learn some kind of side hustle in prison to make money. You can't survive in a Texas prison without having some kind of income. And a side hustle going to be something amazing, like you're an artist and you do tattoos when the guards aren't looking. But more often than not, it's also like contraband somehow, or stealing, or so the prison system really is hit or miss. There's some amazing things happening. There's a new initiative in one prison at the moment, actually, where they partnered with a local dog shelter, and they're bringing the dog shelter into the prison, so the inmates are taking care of the dogs.
That's cool.
Before they're adopted. Absolutely amazing. However, you get some other prisons. The problem is, it depends on the prison. These opportunities aren't actually available to everyone.
For everyone, yeah.
So, but one last. This is pretty cool. One of the Dallas Theological Seminary has a seminary in one of the prisons on the south side of, and you can only be enrolled if you have 15 years at least left on your sentence. So that what they want is that when you graduate after 5 years, you have 10 years to be a minister in the prison, and then they move you into the different prisons around the state.
Oh,
So
neat.
yeah. So there's some great initiatives, but
Wait, can we just backpedal? You said you won't survive the Texas prison system unless you have some sort of financial support or income.
Yeah.
Why is that?
And by survive, that might be a little bit extreme, but it's just the eating conditions, for instance, the hygiene, even just your basic hygiene, some stamps, even to write some letters,
Food.
a fan.
Yeah.
The prisons in Texas don't have air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
So you can imagine what it's like this time of year.
Stifling.
It's horrendous. We've been in there.
They don't report the amount of deaths they have every year as well from
the heat.
From heat exhaustion.
Just heat. Yeah. The older men are just.
No.
I can't help but think, like, they're really not setting these men or women up to overcome or, make,
Yeah.
what's the wording? They're not setting them up to overcome and rehabilitate. Like, that's pretty crazy. I think of like there's so much you could do to reform their lifespan in there where they could be serving society, serving others, having some encouragement, some life building, like mental and
Yeah.
emotional side of things. I don't
What
know.
I do love about this, though, is like
It's
more and more the government has been trying to get their fingers into everything and like trying to take the place of the church. But I think the church and our as Christians have a special place in society traditionally for a long time of like serving the needy
Yes.
and pouring out to the lost and the depraved that need to hear the love of Christ. So that isn't the job of our government, I think. I think it's the church's job to be that entity, to be that loving arms to embrace these people that need to hear the love of Christ. And, it's like, yeah, we can call the government and stuff to do a little better job here and there. But as far as like, really being the boots on the ground and like the church does a way better job at loving these people, honestly. Like, there's no one, only Christ can do that. And
Yeah.
it just reminds me of like, he's come to seek and save the lost. And that's, we get to be that for them. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's awesome y'all are there.
Well, and it's
Like,
great that they're allowing and like literally begging us for more, which
yeah,
is
right.
amazing, and we're in this stage where, like I said, it's like a fire hose. We're trying to up our donorship and find more people who want to financially invest so that we can be
Yeah.
in other cities in Texas, but also like we said, we have a new 7 more in Hawaii, and we have other states who are interested. Honestly, like this is not to big up 7 more, but we have looked and we don't see this in really anywhere else. There are a lot of halfway houses. There's a lot of people to help like in the next stage, but we're kind of like this little bridge in between the first day and actually making it to the help that is available. Because getting to the help that's available is very, very difficult. Like filling
yeah,
out forms, finding a phone, getting yourself to the Social Security office, doing all the things that we all hate doing. I mean,
yeah.
Right.
That
we
sounds like,
all hate doing them. But
I'm
for
like,
you,
I don't think I would make it. I'm
No.
like, unless
trying
you
to
do
get to
this
the
for me, I'm not
DMV
gonna
as
make
alone is
it.
like,
I for
it's
sure would
annoying.
not.
I shouldn't laugh, but
Like
Yeah,
sometimes I'm talking to the guys on the phone and I'm telling them what to do, and in my head I'm thinking, this is a nightmare. Like I would not want to
right.
do this.
Yeah.
yeah,
I have. I'm working with one guy. He's out a year and a half now. Yeah, I could talk about him forever. Yeah, his name's Chris Hill. 61 years old. 30 years in prison. 2 of his sons are in prison as well. Great redemptive story with the rest of his family, though. Came to know Jesus radically in prison. Met one of his sons in prison for the first time in 20 years.
Whoa,
met
Just
him.
crazy.
saw a guy reading a Bible in the chow hall. Went over to talk to him and realized it was his son he hadn't seen in 20 years.
Oh my
Holy
gosh.
smokes.
Yeah, it makes. Anyway, my point is, sorry, I get off on tangents with stories,
No,
right? I like
this
I
is
like
a
the
good
details.
tangent. Go.
So absolutely wonderful redemptive story. But where I was going with this is that a few months ago, he was so proud. Was telling all the guys at work he had just got his driver's license, right? 61. The interesting thing is, and what we what we misunderstand about many of these guys, that's his first driver's license that he's ever had. Not that he's never driven a car before. He grew up
Right.
driving cars, right? But for these guys, like for them to, for the first time, to have a driver's license when you're 61.
To be legit, to feel legit.
The first
Right.
time, like I remember one of the guys saying, I paid my taxes. Again, the guy's in his 50s. I paid my taxes for the first time in my life, and it feels so good. I was like, I've never
Whoa.
felt good about paying my taxes.
Yeah.
But this guy, so again, like we're saying, these to navigate the free world for the first time, it's overwhelming, and yet there's wonderful successes when they,
Yeah.
with partnership and coaching, actually make it through these.
Yeah. And then to stay out and be a parent and parent your children.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so amazing.
It's
Right.
beautiful.
Well, thanks so much for jumping on with us. Please share with our listeners, where can we find you? How can we donate or support? Or maybe we're even gonna like raise up some people through this conversation to come alongside of you and like put their hands in the work.
Yeah.
So
That would be amazing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're on Instagram, the number 7 more stories. So 7 more stories. And then on TikTok, again, 7 more stories. It's 7 or
we'll
7
link
more.
that all too.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, and then to
The
donate, yeah, just on our website is 7more.net, and there's a donate button right there. We would, yeah,
Awesome.
And I don't know how many people I've bragged about saying Adam and Bethany support 7 more.
I know.
It's like I think
It's you and John Legend. John Legend also.
Awesome.
John Legend got involved a number of years ago. So you guys and John Legend.
yeah.
Right on. Well, we're
I think
honored. We're
I think is
thankful.
yeah I think and there's many ways to, especially if if there's people in Texas, like all the clothes we give out to the men coming out, that's all donated. There's that side of it. We're also growing the coaching side, and that a lot of that's over the phone.
Cool.
And a new part of that as well is guys that like I was talking to a guy today, a retired executive from Deloitte, and he'd never been to prison, but he's going to mentor and coach some of the men that have been out for a couple of years and are now navigating like, hey, how do I save money, or how do I
Right.
progress in my job? So coaches don't actually have to have come from prison to be
Right, totally.
mentoring some of the guys farther down the line.
That's huge to have a mentor. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be, and then if you actually want to find us physically, just come to the skate park
That's
downtown.
where you'll find.
Downtown.
Is that your outlet?
That's where you'll find me.
That's where
Your
Josh
little
is.
outlet.
I am not there, but Josh is
You're
there.
not? Okay.
No.
That's fun. I just gotta talk a little about skateboarding before we go.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah,
is
it's
that,
good.
has that been something you've always done in your life?
No,
Obviously, it's
growing up in Ireland, actually grew
Yeah.
up playing rugby, basketball.
okay.
Did a little bit of snowboarding in Europe, and so when we came to Texas, I was like, snowboarding is a 14-hour drive from here.
Right.
Right.
Maybe let me see about skateboarding, and I just got hooked. I got into a half pipe, took a whole bunch of slams, but I
Yeah.
just became more and more obsessed with it, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. So I
Awesome.
started.
He's covered in scars.
Yeah.
Covered.
Love that.
Yeah, you got to know how to fall correctly. I mean,
Oh.
that hurts when you fall on cement.
It
man.
hurts. It hurts when you fall on cement, and I started in my 30s when we were 30 when we moved here.
Okay.
So I've learned everything the hard way.
Yeah.
The hard cement way.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, thanks so much for joining us. That was
Yeah,
super
thank you.
encouraging, eye-opening. And,
Thank you for
I-
having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God
it's
bless
good.
y'all in your ministry.
Yeah.
We're cheering you on.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that was really eye-opening, really just powerful message that Josh and Debs are bringing to the folks in Texas, and thankful for all y'all who support them. And if you are interested in supporting 7 More, be sure to check out the show notes. We'll drop in some links down there for you to check out. And, this is something where we have to look in ourselves too. Like you said earlier in the conversation, is we are all lost. We're all in need of a savior. And in Luke 19:10, Jesus says, the Son of Man has come to seek and save the lost. That's you, that's me, that's the inmates that are getting out of prison who have messed up in a big way. And it's noticeable, but we need to be the hands and feet of Jesus and meet them where they're at and let them know that their identity is not in the wrong that they're doing, but their identity can be in Christ because he has seeked and saved them. So thanks for listening to All Things Possible. We'll catch you later.
Aloha.